The manila envelope sat unopened on my desk for 3 days before I finally gathered the courage to break its seal. Inside was a grant application that made my blood run cold, my family's desperate plea for financial assistance, addressed to my own foundation. They had no idea they were begging for help from the daughter they'd discarded 15 years ago. My name is Michaela, and I built an empire from the ashes of broken dreams. You need to see this, Angela said, dropping the envelope on my desk that Monday. The universe has quite the sense of humor. I remember staring at my mother's handwriting, the same flowing script that had signed away my future when I was 17. The memory hit me like a physical blow. Michaela, darling, we need to discuss something important. Mom's voice echoed from the past as I sat in our old living room, acceptance letter clutched in my trembling hands. About your scholarship to Florence. I got in, Mom. Full ride. They're even covering housing. I was practically vibrating with excitement. Professor Martinez says my portfolio was... Your brother received his law school acceptance today, she interrupted, her tone measured. Harvard Law. Dad shifted uncomfortably in his armchair, avoiding my eyes. Robert lounged against the doorframe, that familiar smirk playing across his face. That's great, I said slowly, dread creeping up my spine. The tuition is substantial, Mom continued. We've discussed it as a family, and we feel your scholarship funds would be better invested in Robert's education. Art history is, well, it's a lovely hobby, darling, but your brother has real potential. The words hit like slaps. A hobby? Mom, I've been working toward this for years. My grades, the internships. We all have to make sacrifices for family, she cut in smoothly. Robert will be able to support all of us once he's established. It's for the greater good. Greater good? My voice cracked. What about my good? Don't be selfish, Michaela, Robert drawled. Some of us have actual career prospects. I looked to Dad, silently pleading, but he just stared at his hands. The betrayal was complete. That night, I threw my art history books against my bedroom wall until my arms ached. Then I got to work. 15 years later, I run one of the most prestigious art consultation firms in the country, though my family doesn't know it. They've never connected Kai Blake, the mysterious curator who built a billion-dollar empire, with the daughter who disappeared into thin air. Are you going to open it? Angela's voice pulled me back to the present. She perched on the edge of my desk, concern etched across her features. I smoothed the application with trembling fingers. The Blair family was seeking emergency assistance after a series of unfortunate investment decisions had left them destitute. Robert's law career had imploded spectacularly, though they blamed the economy rather than his arrogance. They're lying, I said quietly, scanning the document. Look at these numbers. He was running a Ponzi scheme through art investments. Angela squeezed my shoulder. The irony that they're applying to your foundation. What are you going to do? I stood and walked to the window of my penthouse office, watching the city lights flicker to life as dusk settled over Manhattan. On my wall hung the acceptance letter from Florence, framed as a reminder of everything they'd taken and everything I'd built in spite of them. You know what's funny? I turned back to Angela, a cold smile playing across my lips. They always said I'd never amount to anything in the art world. Now they're begging for help from the very industry they dismissed. Michaela, Angela's warning tone was clear. Don't worry, I said, picking up the application. I'm not going to reject them outright. That would be too easy. I pressed the intercom button on my desk. Francisco, schedule a video interview with the Blair family. Tell them the foundation's director would like to handle their case personally. The pieces were finally falling into place, and I intended to savor every moment. The great and mysterious Kai Blake, Francisco announced with theatrical flair as I entered the gallery. Or should I say, the equally mysterious founder of the Blair Art and Academics Foundation. I adjusted my wig, a sleek black bob that transformed me from Michaela into Kai, and straightened my designer blazer. Keep your voice down, Francisco. These walls have ears. The gallery buzzed with Manhattan's elite, all here for our latest exhibition opening. None of them knew that the Foundation's reclusive benefactor was among them, watching, evaluating. That's how I preferred it. Your family's application is causing quite a stir among the board, Francisco murmured, handing me a champagne flute. They're wondering why you're taking such personal interest in a seemingly routine case. Let them wonder. I sipped the champagne, scanning the room. What's the latest on Robert's situation? It's worse than we thought. Francisco pulled out his tablet, scrolling through reports. He leveraged his law firm's client funds to invest in counterfeit art schemes. When the pieces were exposed as fakes, everything collapsed. The SEC is investigating. A familiar voice cut through the crowd, making my blood freeze. I'm telling you, it was market manipulation. Someone deliberately tanked those investments. Robert stood near the bar, his designer suit looking slightly worn at the edges, gesturing wildly to a bored-looking investor. I turned away quickly, though I needn't have worried. My own brother wouldn't recognize me now. Michaela. Angela appeared at my elbow, her expression grave. We need to talk about this. You're playing with fire. I let her pull me into a quiet corner, away from prying eyes. Did you see the lies in their application? They're painting themselves as victims of circumstance when Robert literally committed fraud. And you're not concerned that your own market reports contributed to his downfall? Angela crossed her arms. The ones that exposed those fake art certificates? That was legitimate business intelligence, I defended. I didn't know he was involved when we published those findings, but you're glad he was. I couldn't deny it. The satisfaction had been sweet when I realized my company's exposé had helped trigger Robert's collapse. Your mother called the foundation again today, Angela continued. She was crying, saying they might lose the house. The house where they told me my dreams didn't matter? I kept my voice steady, but my hands shook. Where they made me sign away my scholarship? You've proven them wrong already, Angela insisted. You're successful, respected. Why not just reject the application and move on? Before I could answer, Judah Griffin approached, his sharp eyes taking in my disguise. As one of the few people who knew both my identities, he was a valuable ally. Kai, he said meaningfully, there's someone you should meet. He led me to a small group near my favorite piece in the exhibition, a haunting portrait of a young woman burning her inheritance papers. Robert stood among them, looking increasingly desperate. Mr. Blair here was just explaining his innovative investment strategies, Judah said smoothly. Perhaps you'd care to weigh in? Robert straightened his tie nervously. Kai Blake, the curator? I've been trying to reach your office for weeks. Have you? I kept my voice cool, professional, the voice of a stranger. Regarding what? These allegations about fraudulent art certificates, they're completely false. I was misled by my sources. If your foundation could just provide a statement of support. Our foundation supports artists and scholars who demonstrate integrity, Mr. Blair. I met his eyes steadily, savoring his discomfort. Not failed lawyers looking to cover their tracks. His face reddened. You don't understand. My family's reputation is no longer my concern. I turned to leave, then paused. Oh, and Mr. Blair? The foundation will be in touch about your application soon. Later that night, as I removed my wig in my penthouse bathroom, Angela found me staring at my reflection. You're really going to do this, aren't you? She asked softly. I thought of Robert's desperate eyes, so different from his arrogant smirk 15 years ago. They're about to learn exactly who they dismissed, I said, and what that hobby of mine is worth. The game was set. Now it was time to make them play. Your brother was warned, Judah said, spreading documents across my office desk. 3 times I personally told him those certificates were suspicious. He called me a paranoid art snob and said lawyers know better than gallery rats. I leafed through the evidence, emails, meeting notes, financial records. Each page revealed another layer of Robert's arrogance and desperation. Show me the timeline again, I requested, pushing aside my untouched lunch. 6 months ago, your firm published that report exposing fraudulent certificates in the European market. Judah pointed to a date. Robert had already invested his client's money by then. When the market crashed, he tried to cover the losses with more client funds. Classic Ponzi scheme, Angela added from her perch by the window. A memory surfaced, Robert's voice, sharp with disdain. Pictures and dead statues won't pay the bills, sis. Leave the real business to people who understand money. He never understood the art world, I said quietly. He thought it was all just pretty paintings and inflated prices. My phone buzzed, another email from my mother to the foundation. I'd been receiving them daily now, each more desperate than the last. Please, this one read, my son made mistakes, but he had such promise. We're about to lose everything. Just give us a chance to explain. Angela read over my shoulder. You know what's twisted? They still think Robert's the one with promise. Speaking of twisted, Judah pulled up a video on his tablet. Watch this. It was security footage from a gallery in Boston. Robert, clearly drunk, was arguing with the curator. My sister used to bore us with this crap, he slurred. Art history this, Renaissance that. Thank God we shut that down before she wasted her life. The rage I thought I'd buried flared hot and bright. When was this? Last week. He's unraveling. Judah paused the video. But here's what's interesting. He's been asking questions about Kai Blake. Seems he thinks if he can get your support, other galleries might back off. I stood, walking to my office's wall of windows. Below, New York hummed with energy, oblivious to the drama playing out in this high-rise. Francisco, I called through the intercom, schedule that interview with the Blairs for tomorrow, and send them the pre-interview questionnaire, the detailed one. Michaela, Angela warned, that questionnaire asks about family history, past decisions. Are you sure? They want money from my foundation? I turned, letting them see the steel in my eyes. They'll have to earn it, just like I earned everything they said I couldn't have. Later that afternoon, I sat in on a board meeting for the foundation, me as Kai Blake, appearing via video conference with my face partially shadowed. The board was discussing the Blair case. Their answers to the questionnaire are concerning, Francisco reported. When asked about supporting their children's educational goals, they wrote, and I quote, "We always prioritize practical career paths over frivolous pursuits." Frivolous? I kept my voice neutral, though my hands clenched under the desk. Like what? Art history, apparently. Francisco looked directly at the camera. They mention having a daughter who wanted to study in Florence. They say redirecting her scholarship money to their son's law degree was the responsible choice. The other board members shifted uncomfortably. They didn't know they were watching that daughter's reaction in real time. Interesting. I leaned forward slightly. And how did that responsible choice work out? Their son is facing disbarment and possible criminal charges, Francisco replied. The daughter's whereabouts are unknown. Not quite unknown, I murmured, too softly for the microphone to catch. After the meeting, Judah called. I've been thinking, that documentary project I mentioned about art market fraud, Robert's story would make a compelling centerpiece. Do it, I said immediately. But wait until after tomorrow's interview. I want them desperate when you approach them. You're really going to face them? No. I smiled, though he couldn't see it. Kai Blake is going to face them, and they're going to learn exactly what their frivolous daughter became. I hung up and stared at my reflection in the window. Tomorrow, the real game would begin, and I intended to make every moment count. The interview room felt like an interrogation chamber. One-way glass separated me from my family, though they saw only a darkened panel. On their side, harsh fluorescent lights exposed every line of worry on my mother's face, every fidget of my father's hands. Testing, testing, Francisco's voice came through the speakers. Mr. and Mrs. Blair, Robert, can you hear me clearly? They nodded, huddled together on a sleek leather couch. My mother clutched her designer handbag, last season's model, I noticed, like a life preserver. Ms. Blake will be joining us shortly, Francisco continued. She's very interested in your case. I watched Robert straighten his tie, the same one he'd worn to the gallery. We appreciate the Foundation's time, he said, trying to sound confident. There's been a misunderstanding about my investment strategies. Let's start with your family history, I interrupted, using the voice modulator that made me sound slightly older, more authoritative. Tell me about your children. My mother's face lit up. We have two. Robert, of course, who's here with us. He was always so brilliant. Harvard Law, youngest partner at his firm. And your other child? I pressed. Her smile faltered. Michaela. She left years ago. Cut off all contact. Why? She was always difficult, my mother sighed. Unrealistic dreams, no practical sense. We tried to guide her. By taking her scholarship? The words came out sharper than I intended. All three of them stiffened. How did you? Robert started. It's in your application history, I cut him off. You redirected your daughter's full scholarship to fund your son's law degree, the same law degree that led to defrauding art investors. Now wait just a minute, my father spoke up. We made the best decision we could for our family's future. Did you? I pulled up documents on their screen. Because according to these records, Michaela had a 4.0 GPA, multiple internships, and recommendations from leading art historians, while Robert, I paused for effect, barely maintained the minimum GPA for his scholarship renewal. My mother's eyes welled with tears. We needed a lawyer in the family. Art history was just a hobby, I finished. Interesting choice of words. You used the same phrase in your email to me yesterday. The color drained from her face. You've been reading my emails? I read everything, Mrs. Blair, including the part where you called your daughter self-centered for wanting an education in a field she excelled in. Robert stood up, anger finally breaking through his practiced facade. Look, whatever Michaela told you— Sit down, Mr. Blair, I commanded. Your sister hasn't told me anything. Your own actions speak volumes. Shall we discuss the client funds you diverted, the forged certificates, the drunken rants about gallery rats? He sank back down, deflated. Please, my mother whispered. We're desperate. The bank is foreclosing next month. Desperation doesn't excuse what you did, I said coldly. To your clients, or to your daughter. What does Michaela have to do with this? My father demanded. She abandoned us. Did she? I pulled up one final document. Or did you discard her the moment she stopped being useful to your grand plans? The room fell silent. On the screen, a scan of my old scholarship acceptance letter glowed accusingly. The Foundation has made its decision, I announced. We will not be offering assistance at this time. However, I let the word hang. I'm authorizing a special investigation into your case. Expect to hear from us again very soon. Wait, my mother called as Francisco moved to end the call. Please, just tell me, have you spoken to Michaela? Is she okay? I leaned closer to the microphone, letting emotion color my voice for the first time. She built something beautiful from the ashes of your betrayal. That's all you need to know. The screen went dark. I sat in the shadows, watching them slowly gather their things and leave. Angela appeared at my side. That was brutal, she said softly. No, I replied, touching the glass where my mother's tears had fallen. Brutal is telling your child her dreams don't matter. This is just the beginning. What's next? I stood, straightening my jacket. Now we show them exactly what that hobby of mine is worth. Call Judah. It's time to start filming. Your foundation has an interesting proposal for me? Robert shifted uncomfortably in the plastic chair of the Community Art Center. Gone was his designer suit, replaced by wrinkled khakis and a department store button-down. Francisco smiled pleasantly, sliding a document across the table. We're prepared to consider financial assistance, Mr. Blair, but there are conditions. What kind of conditions? Robert's eyes darted across the page, widening. An internship? Here? 3 months, Francisco confirmed. The foundation believes in rehabilitation through humility. You'll assist with basic operations, maintenance, inventory, supporting our youth programs. You want me to be a janitor? Robert's face flushed red. I'm a lawyer. We're a lawyer, Francisco corrected gently. Currently, you're unemployed and facing criminal charges. This opportunity could demonstrate genuine remorse to the courts. I watched through the security feed from my office, savoring every twitch of discomfort on my brother's face. The Community Arts Center was one of my foundation's proudest achievements, providing free arts education to underprivileged kids. Everything Robert had sneered at for years. Fine, Robert finally muttered, scrawling his signature. When do I start? Tomorrow, 7 a.m. sharp. The next week, I visited the center in my Kai Blake disguise, timing it perfectly to catch Robert mopping the studio floors. Paint-splattered teenagers worked on murals nearby, completely ignoring him. How's our new intern working out? I asked the center's director loudly enough for Robert to hear. Oh, you mean Mr. Harvard Law? She rolled her eyes. Complained for an hour about cleaning paintbrushes yesterday. The kids have a betting pool on how long he'll last. I walked over to where Robert was struggling with the mop. You missed a spot. He looked up, not recognizing his sister behind the wig, and carefully applied makeup. I don't need criticism from another art person. No? I crouched down, pretending to examine the floor. Funny, I thought that's exactly what you needed. Some perspective on the world you dismissed as worthless. Before he could respond, my phone buzzed. It was Judah. You need to see this, he said when I stepped away to answer. Your mother's trying to go public. She's contacted 3 media outlets about how the heartless Blair Foundation is ignoring a family in crisis. I laughed coldly. Perfect. Send me the drafts. There's more, Judah continued. I've started interviewing Robert's former clients for the documentary. The stories they're telling. Michaela, he didn't just steal their money. He destroyed retirement funds, college savings, like he destroyed my college dreams. I watched Robert awkwardly maneuver the mop around easels. How fitting. We can release the documentary next week. It'll destroy any chance they have of recovering. I considered this as I watched a young girl approach Robert, paintbrush in hand. Mr. Intern, she said, can you help me reach the top of my canvas? Robert sighed dramatically. I'm kind of busy here, but Ms. Blake always says art should be accessible to everyone, the girl persisted, even short people like me. I saw Robert freeze at my professional name. Ms. Blake said that? She's the one who funds this place, the girl explained. She says art saved her life when her family tried to stop her from being an artist. I watched my brother's face carefully, seeing the first crack in his arrogance. Good. Judah, I said into the phone, hold the documentary. I have a better idea. That evening, I had Francisco send a message to my family. The foundation's board would conduct one final interview, in person this time, their last chance to prove they deserved help. Are you sure about this? Angela asked as we reviewed the arrangements. Showing your face? They need to understand exactly who they're dealing with, I replied, who I became despite them, not because of them. And then I thought of Robert's face when the young artist mentioned my name, of my mother's desperate media pleas, of my father's silent complicity. Then they'll learn what it really means to lose everything you worked for, I said quietly, just like they taught me 15 years ago. The pieces were set. In 3 days, I would face my family not as Kai Blake, not through screens or proxies, but as Michaela, the daughter they threw away who built an empire from their ashes. Breaking news. Prominent lawyer faces indictment in massive art investment fraud. The news ticker crawled across the screen in my office as my family waited in the conference room below. Perfect timing. They're here, Angela announced, tablet in hand. Your mother's been crying. Robert looks like he hasn't slept in days. Your father, well, he's still your father. Is everything ready? She nodded. Judah's in position with the documentary footage. Francisco has their complete financial records displayed, and the live feed is set up to broadcast to every major gallery in our network. I stood, smoothing my designer suit. No disguise this time. Then let's finish this. The elevator ride down felt eternal. 15 years of rage, pain, and calculated patience had led to this moment. Through the conference room's glass walls, I could see them huddled together, diminished and desperate. The Foundation's director will be here shortly, Francisco was saying as I approached. She's very interested in your unique situation. Please, my mother whispered. We've lost everything. The house, the cars. Robert's facing jail time. Perhaps you should have considered the consequences of your actions earlier, Francisco replied coldly. Robert slammed his hand on the table. We're not criminals. We're victims of circumstance. Victims? I said, stepping into the room. That's an interesting choice of words. The silence was deafening. My mother's hand flew to her mouth. My father went pale. Robert just stared, his arrogance finally cracking. Michaela? My mother's voice trembled. You're... Kai Blake, I finished, taking my seat at the head of the table. Founder of the Blair Foundation, owner of the largest private art consultation firm in North America. I smiled thinly. Or, as you preferred to call it, my hobby. This is impossible, Robert breathed. You disappeared. You were nothing. No, I cut him off. I was everything you could have been, if you'd had an ounce of integrity or genuine ambition. Instead, you stole from clients, lied to investors, and destroyed lives, including that girl at the community center who reminded you so much of me. My father found his voice. Why are you doing this? Why? I pressed a button, and screens lit up around the room. Security footage played, Robert mocking art students, my mother's tearful media interviews, their lies to investors. Because you taught me that family means sacrificing dreams for the greater good. I'm simply returning the lesson. We did what we thought was best, my mother pleaded. We couldn't afford. I had a full scholarship. My composure cracked slightly. Everything was paid for, but you couldn't stand the thought of your precious son being overshadowed by his art-loving sister. Francisco distributed tablets showing their complete financial collapse. The Foundation has thoroughly reviewed your application, he announced formally. Would you like to know our decision? My mother reached for my hand. I pulled away. Darling, please, we're still your family. Family? I laughed bitterly. Let me show you what family means to me. Another button press. The screen showed Judah interviewing my parents' former friends, Robert's victims, all telling the same story of betrayal and entitlement. This documentary airs tomorrow, I said quietly. Unless what? Robert demanded, desperation edging his voice. Unless you do what I never got to do. Tell the truth. Admit what you did. To me, to your clients, to everyone. On camera. Now. And if we do? My father asked. Then the Foundation might consider a very small grant, enough to keep you out of complete poverty. But first, I leaned forward. I want to hear what you regret most as parents. My mother dabbed her eyes, glancing at Robert. We trusted the wrong child with our future. The words hung in the air like poison. I stood slowly, every eye in the room following me. With deliberate movements, I removed my professional blazer, revealing the acceptance letter from Florence, now a work of art, tattooed across my shoulder. No, I said softly. You bet against the wrong one, and now you'll live with that knowledge for the rest of your lives. The silence that followed was broken only by my mother's quiet sobs and Robert's shaky breathing. I gathered my things, pausing at the door. Francisco will handle the paperwork for your public confession. Try to be honest this time. I smiled coldly. After all, we're family. The camera's red light blinked steadily as my family faced their moment of truth. Robert sat rigid in his chair, all pretense of confidence stripped away. My parents huddled together on the interview couch, looking small and old. "State your name and relationship to the Blair Foundation," Judah directed from behind the camera. Robert's voice cracked. "I'm Robert, former attorney, and apparently the brother of the foundation's founder." "Tell us about the scholarship," Judah prompted. "The one you took from your sister." Robert glanced at me, standing in the shadows. It was a full ride to study in Florence, art history. She'd worked for it since she was 14. "And what did you do with it?" He swallowed hard. "I let them give it to me, for law school. I didn't even thank her." My mother burst in. "We thought we were doing the right thing. Michaela, please, you have to understand." "Mrs. Blair," Judah cut her off, "please explain how taking your daughter's earned scholarship was the right thing." "Because lawyers make money," she cried. "Art history is for—" She stopped, seeing my expression. "For what, Mom?" I stepped into the light. "For dreamers? Hobbyists? People who won't amount to anything?" "Michaela," my father tried. "We were wrong. We see that now." "No," I said coldly. "You see that I succeeded despite you. There's a difference." Judah turned the camera to capture my face. "Ms. Blake, or should I say Ms. Blair, you built an empire in the very field your family dismissed. How does it feel to hold their fate in your hands?" I looked directly into the lens. "It feels like karma. They taught me that family means sacrificing dreams for the greater good. Now they get to sacrifice everything for their own greater good, humility." "This isn't fair!" Robert suddenly exploded, jumping up. "You're manipulating the system, using your money and influence to destroy us." I laughed, the sound sharp as breaking glass. "I learned from the best, brother dear. Wasn't it you who said real business was about knowing how to work the system?" "Please," my mother whispered, "we'll do anything. Just help us keep the house." I walked to the wall where my favorite painting hung, a young woman burning her inheritance papers. "You know what this piece represents? It's about choosing freedom over family obligation. I commissioned it the day I made my first $1,000,000. "While you were living in luxury, we were losing everything," Robert accused. "No," I turned back to them. "While I was building something real, you were running Ponzi schemes and destroying lives. The difference is, I earned every penny." Judah signaled that we had enough footage. I pressed a button, and Francisco entered with documents. "Here's what's going to happen," I announced. "This interview airs tomorrow. The foundation will provide a small monthly stipend, enough for a modest apartment and basic needs. In exchange, Robert will work full-time at the Community Art Center for the next year, teaching art business ethics to students." "You can't be serious," Robert sputtered. "Oh, but I am." I smiled coldly. "Consider it your redemption arc. Mom and Dad will volunteer there too, helping underprivileged kids pursue their impractical dreams." "And if we refuse?" my father asked quietly. "Then you get nothing. The documentary airs unedited, showing every lie, every scheme, every moment of family betrayal. Your choice." My mother reached for the papers with trembling hands. "We'll do it. Please, just don't cut us off completely." "Like you did to me?" The words hung in the air between us. Robert signed last, his signature shaky. "I never thought. You were always just my annoying, art-obsessed sister." "And now I'm your salvation," I replied. Ironic, isn't it? As they filed out, defeated and humbled, Angela touched my arm. "Was it worth it?" I watched them through the window, huddled together at the curb waiting for a taxi. No more luxury cars or private drivers. "My silence was their gift for 15 years, I said quietly. "This is their consequence." The taxi pulled away, carrying with it the last remnants of my family's pride. Tomorrow, the world would know their story, not as victims, but as architects of their own destruction, and I would finally be free. The Florence sun painted the gallery walls gold as students filed in for the morning lecture. I stood at the podium, no disguises, no aliases, just Michaela, teaching art history where I'd always dreamed of studying. Today's topic, I announced, is the power of art as redemption. A familiar figure slipped in the back door, Robert, wearing the community center's staff shirt, leading a group of young artists. My weekly reminder of justice served. "Ms. Blake," one of my students raised her hand. "Is it true this gallery used to display fake certificates, the ones from that scandal?" "Yes," I replied, catching Robert's flinch. "Which is why today's guest speaker is uniquely qualified to discuss art market ethics." Robert stepped forward, his once proud stance now humble. "My name is Robert, and I destroyed lives by treating art as a commodity rather than a calling." The students leaned forward, captivated. They'd all seen the documentary, of course. It had gone viral, sparking discussions about family obligation, betrayal, and redemption. "But someone," Robert continued, glancing at me, "showed me that true value isn't measured in dollars. These kids from our center, they taught me more about integrity in 6 months than I learned in all my years of law school." A young girl from his group raised her hand. "Tell them about the scholarship wall." Robert's face softened, a genuine smile I hadn't seen since we were children. "At our center, we create a mosaic of acceptance letters. Every kid who gets an art scholarship adds their letter. My sister's was the first one." "And the last one?" I prompted. "Was Maria's." He gestured to a teenage girl clutching a sketchbook. "Full ride to study art history, the Foundation's first legacy grant." I walked to the gallery's centerpiece, the painting of the woman burning her inheritance. "This piece has a new home starting today. Maria, would you like to tell them where?" Maria beamed. "It's going to hang in the center's entrance, right next to Miss Blake's original acceptance letter." The students applauded. As they gathered around Maria to see her sketches, Angela appeared at my side. "Your mother called," she said softly. "The volunteer program is doing well. They've helped 12 students get scholarships this semester." "And Dad?" "Teaching art appreciation to retirees. Says it's the most meaningful work he's ever done." I watched Robert showing the students how to spot fake certificates, his corporate arrogance replaced by genuine passion for protecting young artists. "You know," Angela mused, "this might not be the revenge you planned." "No," I agreed. "It's better. They're living in my world now, seeing its value through new eyes." The gallery doors opened again. My mother entered hesitantly, carrying a canvas covered in cloth. "Michaela," she said quietly, "the seniors in my art therapy group, they made this for you." She unveiled the painting, a stunning collaborative piece showing a phoenix rising from shattered picture frames. "They said it represents turning pain into purpose," she explained, tears in her eyes. "Like you did." I touched the canvas gently. "Did you contribute to it?" "Just this part." She pointed to a small corner showing a woman's hands releasing a bird. "I called it letting go of control." The symbolism wasn't subtle, but it was sincere. "There's something else," my mother added. "The Foundation's board, they want to expand the scholarship program. They need someone to oversee the European division." "In Florence," I finished, "where it all began." "Where it should have begun," she corrected. "I know we can't undo the past, but maybe we can help build a better future. For other dreamers." I looked around the gallery, at Robert teaching with genuine enthusiasm, at Maria sketching her dreams, at my mother's hopeful eyes. "The funny thing about revenge," I said, addressing the room at large, "is that sometimes it gives people a chance to become who they should have been all along." Angela squeezed my hand. "So what now?" I picked up a paintbrush from a nearby easel. "Now we create something new, together." The Florence sun streamed through the windows, illuminating the Phoenix painting, the scholarship wall, the gathered students. A masterpiece composed of broken dreams reformed into something stronger, more beautiful than before. And for once, it felt absolutely right.